Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to tell you guys a little bit about my infertility journey. I had recorded a video about this, I don't know, a couple years ago, but it was a really bad video. I filmed it in my car. It's awful. I'm pretty sure I have it privatized now. But I wanted to go back through it. I'm going to try to keep this short, but I make no promises because it's a crazy story. If period talk, female anatomy, any of that stuff grosses you out, see you later. You don't want to watch this if that's part of it because we're going to be talking about blood and vaginas. So, yeah. So, we got to start at the beginning, right? So, as soon as I got my period, it was always horrible. I was always in a lot of pain, cramping to where, like, I couldn't really move. Like, it was that bad. So, I always felt like something was wrong, but you know, as a teenager, you're like, oh, this is just how it's supposed to be. Like, people don't talk about this as an issue. It's just, it is what it is, and you deal with it because you're a woman and that's how it is. So, when we finally realized that it was a big problem, I had been bleeding for so long, that I had lost so much blood that we were on a family camping trip the summer I turned 15, and I couldn't walk from here to the door without feeling like I was going to pass out. I had to, sorry, dogs. I had to sit on the ground and wait a minute for blood to be able, I don't know what internally happens when that happens, but I had to sit on the ground until I didn't feel faint, walk a couple more steps. So it finally got to the point where my mom took me to the hospital on my 15th birthday, and I had to get a lot of blood. I think it was like 5 units of blood put into me. So it was quite a bit. So I had lost quite a bit of blood just because of period. So that was kind of a red flag. So I started going to an OBGYN and getting things figured out, and everything kept coming back normal. Nobody found any cancer, nothing. It all came back normal. All my pap smears came back normal, nothing. So we just went on birth control and called it good, but birth control really didn't help it either. So the doctors just kept changing my birth control. So it all started when I was 15, blood transfusion, birth control. Then 3 years later, I moved to Texas and I didn't have my mom's support anymore. I had to figure out doctors and all of that all on my own. Insurance, it's not fun. But the periods still kept happening. They were really heavy. I would have like huge blood clots come out, and I couldn't figure out what was wrong. I would go to a doctor for a couple months and they'd be like, oh, you just need to do this. And I'd try to do that and it didn't work. And they would just be like, well, keep taking the medicine, it's going to work. And it just wouldn't work. So then I'd switch doctors. I think I went through like 7 doctors in my first 4 years in Texas because nothing those doctors did ever helped. And so when I was 22, 23, somewhere in that range, I had another blood transfusion because of the same issue. And the doctor that admitted me into the hospital, he thought it was crazy that a 22-year-old was getting admitted for another blood transfusion twice in their life for the same problem. He thought it's unheard of. Like, it doesn't happen very often. So something was wrong. But all my doctors kept telling me that it was fine. So it was maybe a week before I was set to see another new doctor that this happened. So they called that doctor. The doctor told them what medicine to prescribe me to get the bleeding to just stop so that I'd stop losing blood. And then I kept going in for more iron infusions. Then I saw that doctor, and he was an okay doctor. He wasn't awful, but he again just wanted to try, we tried Depo. That worked for about a month, and then the bleeding started again, and I was super nauseous all the time. Like, I remember leaving his office and just throwing up on one of the bushes because that's how sick I was, and he still didn't really understand how big of a problem it was. He was an older doctor, so I think he's just an older doctor and stuck in his ways. So after that doctor, I was determined to find an OBGYN that would listen to my whole story and not just what was happening here and now. So I finally found one. It took over a year to get into him because I had scheduled the appointment, and then I had to make a trip to Arizona because I was living in Texas at the time. So then it got pushed back like 6 months. And then some work thing happened and I had to push it back again. So it took over a year for me to see him. But once I saw him, he said, okay, what we need to do is we need to do a laparoscopic and a hysteroscopy, I think, to see if you have endometriosis and just to give you an ablation to get anything and everything that's in there out. Because I was, again, bleeding heavy, having huge clots, all of it. So a few months later, after I had figured out insurance and how much it was going to cost and all of that jazz, we did the surgery. In that surgery, this was like November 2016. Wow, not 2006, 2016. He found that I had huge fibroids and I had endometriosis. And he said that all of this would explain why I had to have the blood transfusions. So, and he said that the other doctors should have also caught this, but because of my age and whatever other reasons, he thinks that they just didn't believe me or didn't want to do surgeries because of I was so young. But it's neither here nor there at this point. But word of advice, if you think something is wrong, something's probably wrong and you should get it looked at. Get 3 or 4 opinions before you make a decision. I wouldn't say you need much more than that, but go to 3 or 4 different doctors. Keep pressing until somebody helps you find the answers. Really, honestly, the main reason why I was able to find answers is not because of my OBGYNs. As much as I love Dr. Gale, it's not because of him. It was because of Dr. Fleener at the cancer clinic. She was my hematologist. She was pressing for this. She ordered ultrasound. She ordered all sorts of tests. So you got to find good doctors. So after that, it was a couple more years, still painful, still on iron, still doing birth control. We tried the NuvaRing. None of those were working. So at, 2 weeks before my 27th birthday, we decided that it was time to do a hysterectomy because my quality of life was suffering so bad that I couldn't do basic functions. So I needed the hysterectomy to be able to work normally and to be able to hang out with friends and not be stuck to an IV or machines giving me blood and iron all the time. So it was a hard decision. It was a hard surgery. My endometriosis was really bad. Like my bladder was fused to not only my uterus, but there was so much scar tissue that like my whole pelvic wall was just basically endometriosis. And the crappy part about endometriosis is that just because you have a hysterectomy doesn't mean it goes away. I still have it. It is better now, probably about 15% better, but I can still feel it. It's in there. And I will have to have more surgeries to have it, taken care of. But my quality of life is significantly better. I don't have to go get iron infusions on a monthly basis. I used to have to get 3 iron infusions a month, and it would always be within the same week. And if you've ever had iron infusions, I'm so sorry. They are the worst. They make you feel awful. You are so tired. You're so sick. And then 2 days later, you got to do it again. So you just can't catch a break. So anyway, so that's my story. That's where we're at right now. That was about 2 years ago now. And so now I've gotten married since then and we're trying to get babies. I say get babies because we either have to do a gestational carrier or adopt, but we're super excited. And hit subscribe if you want to come along for our ride. For our ride? Hit subscribe if you want to come along for the ride, not our ride. Wow. If you have any questions, comments, leave them down below. Anyways, have a great day and don't forget to always smile.